Are we live?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Hi. We got Jeremiah and Robert and Sarah. And is it Gaia?
Is
Hope
it
I'm
Gaia
pronouncing.
or Gia?
That's exciting. Welcome, everybody.
I think Amy was in here too. Yeah.
It looks like we have Elizabeth here too, Andrea, Patricia, Maureen, Lenore, Cindy, Greg, Lisa, Carrie, Maxine. Hope I'm saying this right. Armedia. And then we have a couple of users that just have their IDs in. So welcome everybody. We want to make this interactive. So this is our very first support group that we're doing in this forum as our sponsor, ProCare Health. And we'll introduce ourselves here in just a moment, but we want to welcome you guys all here. So we're happy that you're here and whatever time you're joining us. This is going to be a recorded event. We hope for it to be about an hour. It might go over just a little bit just because we got a lot of good stuff for you guys. So stay with us. And if you can't stay with us the whole time, it'll be recorded and you'll have access to the replay too. So it's exciting. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let Brittany here, who's my colleague. Brittany,
Hi.
you want to introduce yourself and then I'll introduce myself and then start with the program.
Yeah, so my name is Brittany Wilkinson. I started with ProCare in the end of May of this year, so I've been with them for almost about 6 months. And I mainly do the marketing stuff, so all the social media interaction. Hopefully, I'll be taking on a little bit more and helping Erin out with some of that too, and taking some stuff off her plate. But hopefully, too, we can get or Brenda and I can go to support groups in person eventually. With everything going on, I don't know when that will be, but hopefully that will happen soon too. So I'm really excited, and thank you for letting me be here with you and letting me be a part of this. This is awesome. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for that intro. So, um, a bit about me. I actually have been working for ProCare, work with ProCare. Um, I just recently started full time, but I've worked with them in different relationships. I worked as a nurse bariatric coordinator for a weight loss surgery program from 2012 to this last year, 2020, and we sold their products. And I also went to events with them for the last 2 years. So working with bariatric surgery physicians, providers, patients. I saw patients in the clinic. And then also, I am a weight loss surgery patient myself. I had weight loss surgery back in 2013. I had the sleeve gastrectomy. So that was a big journey for me, and it helped me understand what people go through. Thirdly, I mean, a lot of my background is in personal development and coaching. I love that field. Kind of studied a lot of different things. I have certification in coaching through the John Maxwell program, and then also I have a certification through a program called Healing Beyond Borders, and I'm certified in a program process called Healing Touch, which is kind of integrative medicine. So I'll bring some of those teachings in. I'll try to bring all of these pieces together. And I'm also interested, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time, but I do want to get to know you guys. So if any of you guys want to put in your chat box, if you want to share if you've had surgery, if you're preparing to have surgery, if you've had some weight loss success, anything you want to say hi. So we're going to give just a minute for anybody who wants to introduce themselves. And this is going to be really interactive. We want you guys to ask questions as we go through this. Brittany's here to help me with keeping up with questions and stuff too, so that we can make sure and
Yes.
address things.
Mm-hmm. I'm her Vanna for the day.
Everybody's being quiet. Okay. It's
Yeah, that's
okay.
okay though.
Oh, somebody's posting 20. Sarah says she's 20 months post-op gastric bypass, down 125 pounds, been below goal and maintaining. Oh, that's
Oh
wonderful.
my gosh, that's awesome. And maintaining for about 8 months now. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, wonderful. Anybody else? Hello,
Hello.
Jeremiah. Preparing, just started. So you haven't had, I don't think he's had surgery? Oh, I don't know if Jeremiah's had this surgery. Nope, he's not had it. Oh, great. This is going to be good information for you. And then Amy, she says, I had the sleeve 6'2", 20, down 59 pounds. Yay.
Really good.
Got some
Yeah.
good success. Lenore, hi, Ruin Y in 2015, also an RN. Wonderful. What kind of nurse are you, Lenore? And Robert says, I had bypass surgeries September 1st. Oh, that's recent.
Yeah, that's really recent.
You
Hopefully
want to
it's
read
going
the
well.
Yeah, you want to read the next one, Brittany?
Lisa says, I will be 2 years post-op in November and down 90 pounds. That's awesome.
Great
Happy almost
job.
2 year.
I'm
Gigi.
Gigi. Oh, I like that.
Wow, we just got a lot of them.
Yeah, read them up.
I have initially had the sleeve in 2015, then due to complications, I had revision in 2017. After more complications, I had revision, or I'm sorry, after more complications, I had a second revision last year. None of these revisions were to weight gain. However, I have recently had an issue with weight gain. That's Andrea, I'm sorry. Andrea or Andrea Robbins. So do you have anything you want to say to her, Brenda?
You know what? Honestly, you're in the right place. That's what we're talking about today. So hopefully some of this will be helpful to you, some of these tools and techniques and stuff. And then Lenore, I got my CBN certification. Yes, yes, that's great. I have not done that. So I'd be interested at some point to talk to you to learn more about that. Boy, we got all kinds of them. Let's read down the list. I'm Elizabeth. I'm 13 years, Rouen Y. I'm also a bariatric RN and run a support groups in New York. Wonderful. That's
Awesome.
great. You're welcome to share information here that we supply. And if you need my help at all, Elizabeth, and Brittany's, we're helping. We're happy to help you with any of your support groups as well. Gigi says I had the sleeve done in June and down 50. Wow, great.
Some too.
Patricia, I've been seriously thinking about gastric surgery for over a year. Please
You're in the
feel
right
free to
place.
ask questions. Yeah, like some of these other people might have really good answers too. Michelle from New York City. So, okay. Well, keep those comments coming. I'm gonna go ahead, and Cindy and Carrie both posted Rouen Y in 2016 and had success, but had regain. Okay. And Carrie, I'm 20 months post-op, Rouen Y, trying to maintain, but has been more challenging. So, wonderful. Okay. I understand. Believe me. I mean, since my surgery was 2012, and that's one reason I'm doing. The main reason that we're doing this tonight is because honestly, you guys are not alone if you're struggling with any kind of weight regain or plateauing, that type of thing. It is really common, and honestly, I can tell you it's probably the most common thing patients kind of come back with. Not saying that weight loss surgery isn't successful, but sometimes, we go through these periods of up and down, and we're human. So you're not alone, I'll tell you that. And so hopefully some of what we're sharing today is going to help. And we're going to just dive into this because I'm excited, and I know we got a ton of stuff and hopefully helpful stuff for you guys to share. So there's going to be 6 different things that we're going to go over here tonight, and I want to try to squeeze it in as quickly as we can. And again, if you need to leave, that's okay. Just come back and you can always listen to the replay. So first of all, we're going to discuss the causes of weight plateaus and regain. And I'm going to be looking to the side a little bit because I got some of my notes over here on the side. We're going to discuss ways to get more tangible, sustainable weight loss and weight change long term. So we're also going to give examples of aligned actions that'll help conquer some lifelong patterns maybe that you've experienced in the past. We're going to develop an empowerment plan, which I'm excited about, and because really this is all about you. It's not anything that I do or Brittany does. We're here to motivate you and inspire you to make those changes and to be there with you. And we're also going to discuss, so this is one thing I'm going to bring, a couple things I'm going to bring in through my through the coaching part and the holistic part, I'm going to describe something called muscle testing. And it's a way to be able to know if the choices that you're aligning with are good for you, healthy for you, your body's response to them. And then also another little exercise called the Affinity exercise. And it's an exercise I kind of made up on my own to help with emotional alignment, to help you align with those things that you really want. So those are the key things. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be downsizing me and Brittany, and I'm gonna be pulling up some slides. So I'm gonna be sharing our screen, okay? And then Brandy just sent into lost 143 pounds, but struggling with weight rate regain. So glad you're here, Brandy. Okay, so I'm gonna do share screen, and I'm going to go to my PowerPoint slides.
Sorry, it said we had a question. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
I think she meant to comment it. It was, I think it was Gigi. Yeah, it was Gigi. So.
Okay, I'm going to try this and see if I can get this here. Okay.
Yeah, Brenda might have said this already, but if you guys have any questions at all, there's a little button that says ask a question, or you can ask a question in the chat too. I'm going to try my best to keep an eye on both of them so we can answer all your questions tonight, okay?
Sounds good. And Brittany, can you see my screen?
I can.
Because I can hear your voice. I can't see anybody right now. So she's going to keep a look on the questions, and can you see me and you on the screen, or just the picture?
Yeah, we're still down at the bottom, and then it shows the beginning of your
slideshow. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is just stay with me. I already introduced myself, so we're going to kind of skip over these first two slides here. This is our welcome and basically where we're going with this presentation. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of look at the causes of weight plateaus and regain, okay? And between some of these, we'll take a little pause and we'll kind of talk a little bit. But the first thing is weight plateaus. Basically, what is it? A plateau is a stabilization of weight loss, or stabilization of weight. And the goal of the body is survival. So basically, it's your body's way of protecting itself and basically being more homeostatic. Basically, our bodies are programmed for balance and to assure your body's regulating it properly and in harmony, basically. And what happens is a lot of times the metabolism slows. So when you experience a plateau, it's because of a change in that. Basically, I believe that every single little cell in your body is just smart as can be, and that it actually has information coming in and out of it. And I think just basically the lifestyle choices need to be aligned with the end result, and that our bodies will align themselves in that. And I'll kind of explain more about that. That's kind of a deep thought of just basically your body aligns to your overall emotional status, your overall mental status. It aligns and becomes in harmony with that. So each cell kind of resonates at those points. And we'll talk a little bit about that more here in just a moment. And I'm going to just kind of take a deep breath too, because I just want to really help you guys. And I know some of these points it's really, it can be hard depending on where you're at. If you're in that first, so a lot of patients will experience weight plateaus and regain at different points in their time. I'm going to tell you, it's not uncommon that first year to go through plateaus. I'd say at about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes people will experience a plateau. If you've experienced that, you've had surgery, you can raise your hand. You know, sometimes over that first year, there may be 2 or 3 weeks. And I know sometimes patients will kind of like, or people, I'm not going to even call you patients, people will kind of freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, I stopped losing, and it may be a couple of weeks that go by. And honestly, sometimes it's just the body reassimilating. And what you'll likely see is, especially during that first year, is just a plateau, and then you'll see all at once some weight loss of maybe 3 to 5 pounds. So it'll be like all at once, the weight just kind of jumps off. So don't let that scare you if you're still in that first year. If you're over the first year and you've had a problem with plateauing, sometimes it's just very minor little tweaks that you make that basically start changing the momentum to get you to where you want to be. So it could be like little tiny things in your diet, or it could be a little bit more physical activity. There's a lot of those things that could just be little small changes that add up to the big changes. As far as weight regain, if you're further out, it's about really kind of just like looking at your lifestyle and addressing some of the things that are causing, I call them the root causes, because when you get down to the very root of whatever it is that's causing the problem, that is what's going to help you get to where you want to be, basically. So weight regain is really about having unrealistic expectations, possibly in lifestyle choices, including your diet and exercise program. You got to be able to do it. I mean, I'm telling you, my husband, he had a few weeks back, he was diagnosed with being possibly early diabetic. His hemoglobin A1C was high. That's a test they do to check your blood sugars. And so we went in and talked to a dietitian, and I was extremely impressed at the information. It just made me kind of rethink things, just little things. And she did it as being a lifestyle change, because if you've had weight loss surgery, it is a lifestyle change. It's not just about diet, you know. You know what I'm saying? Brittany's kind of agreeing here.
Yeah.
You know, it's for him. She went through, and I'm sure if you've worked with a dietitian before, a lot of times it's very individualized, because not every diet works for every person. You got to find out what works for you. And I call it the energy gap. So I'm going to go down to my notes here a little bit. Give me just a second. So basically, you may be taking in more fuel than what your body is needing and expelling less than what's needing. So in other words, your body is holding on to that unneeded extra weight. So maybe your metabolism's slow to keep you in a survival mode and storing extra for whatever it thinks it needs it for. It could be a sedentary lifestyle. And so a lot of times when we're talking about exercise, instead of exercise, I use the words physical activity, because everybody's ideal of that is different. It could be, instead of maybe going out and walking 3 miles, it could be that you're gardening, or it could be that you're swimming or bicycling. I mean, everybody's physical activity is different, and if you have a family, a lot of times you can include that lifestyle in with that. Mm-hmm. Looking at that, yeah, and then just being non-compliant in lifestyle choices. So what that means is, what I mean is just basically the choices that you make that first year. I know the surgeon that I used to work with, he used to always tell patients, you know, the biggest thing about that first year is just recreating new patterns, because you kind of get yourself stuck. Like, for example, for me, a lot of times one of my worst habits is at nighttime, like sitting down and snacking at night, kind of mindless eating. And that's, for me, I've kind of become aware of that being a pattern. So trying to plan ahead for that and try to build different foods into what I'm eating, as opposed to foods that I don't feel good about. We're going to kind of move on here too. So how about getting real sustainable and tangible weight loss long term? So I believe that is looking at a pace that's sustainable, tracking your progress, letting go of the need for perfection, and don't rely on the scale alone. And so with that, oops, sorry about that, guys. I clicked the wrong little button here. In order for your body not, so that first thing, look at a pace that is sustainable. Basically, in order for your body not to go into a survival mode, you have to lose at a rate that keeps up with your body, basically, and meets its needs, but then yet doesn't signal the body that it needs to go into like a crisis mode. By tracking progress, to me, that's just really about being mindful. Mm-hmm. You know, that's probably, for me, been one of the most helpful things as far as I think out of anything that I'm going to be saying here is being really intentional and mindful, because when you're tracking your progress, and an app that I like using is Berrytastic. Brittany, Brittany hasn't had weight loss surgery, but do you use any kind of apps? There's so many out there. Do you ever do
Yeah.
any of that tracking?
I've used my Fitness Pal in the past, and I really liked that because it not only tracked all of, your macronutrients like carbs, fats, proteins, but it also tracked your liquid intake, which is very important. I know for this community it is too, but you have to have your liquids. That's important. So, and it also tracks your exercise routines, and it would even send little updates. Hey, you forgot to get up and get moving just a little bit, even if it meant taking my dog for a 20-minute walk. It held me a little bit more accountable. So I think that was really important too for tracking progress.
Yeah, yeah. And you said it tracks like when you're walking, like how far and that type of thing?
Yeah, so you could set it up to your phone and it could count your steps that day, so it would know that was not behaving that day. But Lenore says that she loves Berrytastic too.
Oh,
Is,
good. Is
are
there
there
anybody else
any?
out there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say share your apps with us. Don't just hoard them for yourselves.
That's a great thing. So and two, I think too, it's about letting go the need for perfection. So this is about lifestyle. There's going to be times when you want to have those incredibly wonderful things that in life you want to experience all these other things. But it's all about not kind of finding a way to balance that and not feeling kind of letting go of shame and guilt, because they only prevent you from moving forward. Those things kind of hold you back. And so when we're trying to be perfect about everything, it just it just puts you in a different mindset. So I think letting go of the need for perfection, but just continue moving forward, continue that, determination, and not relying on the scale alone. And for a lot of people, it's about their blood pressure changing or coming off of a CPAP or being able to sit, comfortably at a booth or play with their children or grandchildren, running around. Maybe it's gardening or whatever. Anybody have any comments on that?
I just was saying that, non-scale victories are very important too. And I think that if you do find yourself plateauing and you remind yourself of those non-scale victories, it's a little bit easier to not be so upset about it. You know what I'm trying to say, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that,
They can be very motivating. I think that's what I was trying to say, Sarah. So thank you.
oh, I like that. Okay, guys, I guess we'll just kind of keep moving on. I think some of the other things to kind of get real tangible success is to find ways to incorporate physical activity into your lifestyle. So those things we just talked about. And um, to me, one of the biggest things is to decrease stress by exploring things that make you happy. And during all these changes this year, I do think it's possible to be happy, even though we have an overwhelming amount of craziness going on, because happiness doesn't exist from the outside. It exists from the inside. And so when you start looking at yourself, I think it's made us turn inward this year and really examine more of who we are inside. And to me, that's a huge determinant, a factor on kind of meeting certain successors or certain things within our lifestyle. So I just want to make that part of all of this. And I'm going to kind of move on here to our next slide. Okay. And I usually don't get nervous, but tonight I'm feeling a little bit. I hope it's like it's not coming out too strong. It's just interesting. This is all this virtual format and stuff is just so different than seeing and talking
It's
to people
different.
in person. I know we have a couple nurses out there too. One of them said that she was doing support groups. I don't know about the other nurse, but I can tell you, like I did support groups for well, 7, 8 years while I was working in that program. And being face to face with people as opposed to virtually is a little different. Um, so my intention here is to somehow connect with you all and Brittany to help us with that piece too, because um, it is important. That's why we're doing this. We're not doing it just for. I mean, it's fun. Obviously, it's fun for me, but I hope it's something that you guys get out of it. So again, continue to comment and bring in questions. Here we're going to talk about, huh?
I think we might have a question. Someone said, what is N NVS? I think he meant to say NSV though. Do you want to tell them what NSV stands for?
Yeah, I think non-scale victory. Non-scale victory, meaning anything like Brittany talked about a while ago, those things that you don't have to step on the scale for, that make you successful, that you make you feel like you've done something to change your current situation in a way that you feels good to you. So I think that that's important. Um, and I think some of these other things that I'm going to be mentioning here in just a moment may seem like it's something that you hear all the time, but I want you to hear it in a new way. I think basically, if you get out a certain way, let's say you're out a year or 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, out from surgery, and you want to change something and you're trying to figure out what to do differently. Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily recommend fad diets. It's not that it's a bad thing. You know, a lot of times people will say these pouch tests and all these other different kinds of diets. I'd say just kind of listening to your own instincts, because what's good for you is good for you. Sometimes it's just going back to the basics, you know, kind of like looking at, a lot of times programs will give you a list of foods that's recommended, like right after surgery. You know, it's meant to be kind of long term, but like looking at that, building your grocery list about that. So kind of just going back to the basics and like making the protein the staple of your diet. So I know what we used to recommend in the program I was in was 60 grams for women, 90 for men, and for the DS procedure. Some programs I talked to a program last week that they recommended 120 up to 120 grams of protein. You know, that is something you can talk to a dietitian or whoever about. But if you make protein, you know, your staple of your diet, if you put that at the forefront, um, it guarantees that you're getting that in, and then that helps fill you up so that you're eating less. And I'm all for eating a balanced diet, so balancing your meal out with healthy carbs and fats and lots of healthy fruit and vegetables. It's
And
about
those,
really,
oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead,
I was gonna
Brittany.
say, and I've even done the fad diets, and me personally, I think that I just get so overwhelmed with it that it's not sustainable. Like you were saying before,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about sustainability and having realistic expectations. And sometimes those fad diets, they're just not realistic. I mean, for it to be sustainable. So I think that just a balanced diet is definitely the way to go.
Absolutely. And I know sometimes people will use them as momentum to kind of kickstart something. And I mean,
And
there's
that's
not,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying,
Hmm.
kind of like
I
you
agree.
said, long term, it's just, it has to be something that works out for your lifestyle, like on a day to
Right.
day basis. So, and then I would say, looking at your cravings and maybe find substitute foods that fill and curb your needs. So, for example, me and my husband, with our diet changes here recently, with him having this new diagnosis, what we did is we looked at what we were eating during our day, and then our downfall was in the evenings, and so we love chocolate. Like, I love chocolate. So, like, instead of eating ice cream shakes, we could eat chocolate protein shakes, or we could eat, I bought chocolate, like a low fat chocolate pudding that we could, in the little serving sizes, individual serving sizes, so that we're not like eating large portions.
Hmm.
Um, we also, I'm trying to think what other kind of changes, just like little things like that. So, like if you're craving something, substituting that for something else that's similar, but maybe that you feels a little healthier. And I recently just did last week a Facebook Live on our ProCare page on cravings. So you can always
Hmm.
address that and look at that later too. That was a whole 30 minutes of conversation on cravings.
She
And
has
also,
a lot of super helpful things on our Facebook site. If you guys are interested after this, I would highly recommend going on our Facebook page and just looking for lives that she's done in the past. They're all rewatchable, I believe, correct?
yeah, yeah. Thank you,
So,
Brittany.
mhm.
Yeah. Um, I think it's just really, truly, to me, it's about becoming aware about what you're doing. Also becoming aware here at liquids are fuel too, and checking in on how many calories you're coming from liquids. And at the support group that I did last week, that was on the same topic. Me and some of the other nurses that were leading the program, we're talking. Since COVID hit,
Mhm.
alcohol.
Oh, I bet it's probably spiked, I'm sure, because people,
Yeah.
they're not leaving their homes.
Exactly. So, I mean, not that that's a bad thing. And I mean, depending on what your program recommends, every program's a little different. Some of them don't recommend it for a certain amount of time,
Mhm.
but, or for the first year, I don't know. But I guess I just want to say that just remembering, it's not that you necessarily long term couldn't have alcohol. I would just say that just remembering that there is calories in that. And there are a lot of low calorie alcoholic drinks. I mean, there's like if you do vodka and water or vodka and Mio, like what do you call? Is it Mio? You would probably know,
Mio,
Bria.
yeah, I think Mio is the
Water flavoring.
yeah. And then I think that they have one that's sugar free too. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So those kind of things, or like um, like beer. There's all different kinds of low calorie beers that you can get. So just keeping in mind that those are calories. For me, we live in the South here. We live in Midwest. We live in Missouri, and a lot of people are tea drinkers. So just remembering that tea has, if you're drinking sweetened tea, that has extra calories. And then a lot of these coffee drinks, Starbucks drinks. I love Starbucks.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, you
There's
could
a lot
get
of
four.
sugar in them though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could get 400 or 500 calories in like half a day calories in just one of those drinks. So what you can do to substitute for something like that, if you're interested, you could always take like a coffee and mix it with a chocolate protein shake to kind of and put ice in it if you like an iced coffee. I've heard a lot of patients or people that are doing those kind of things too to just try to switch up. So switch it up so that you have something that you like, but it's less calories. And
What do
then
you
just
think about the sports drinks? Are those,
yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, are they
there's
pretty high in sugar? I don't really drink them, so I don't know. But I'm
there's
sure people might be
Gator
wondering.
absolutely. There's like Gatorade Zero and Powerade Zero, maybe Powerade something that has no calories. But then
Hmm.
the ones that do have the regular sugar in them, the regular original flavors, those can be I think like 120 calories per serving, something like that,
Okay.
110. So that is something to look at, especially during the summer months. Now that the weather's changing, but still people still like them, and especially right after surgery, those can be a great thing to drink. Especially looking to get your if you're looking to get some fluids in, but you want a little flavor, the 0 calorie ones are what I would recommend. Definitely, if you're and honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference in taste. If you've been drinking the other ones, it might be a little bit of a change, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, kind of keep moving here. So, I think this might be my last slide on getting real sustainable and tangible results long term. I think basically spreading your protein throughout the day can be super helpful. Like sometimes people will have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes having a snack in between can kind of help curb your appetite so you're not so hungry for those other meals. And then rest. I've heard countless numbers of studies on rest that's really important. And I know sometimes it's just building a routine for yourself so at night so that you
Absolutely.
yeah, are able to go to sleep and um, find that you're laying down and getting comfortable and all of that. And then changing your perspective and focus. And here, I'm going to kind of go over to my notes because I know I had some things here with that on.
Patricia had a question too for you.
Sure.
Is sucralose, I don't know if I'm saying that right, good or bad? Sucralose?
Sucralose?
Hmm.
Well, let me see which one sucralose is. Give me just a second.
She said Splenda. I
Oh,
guess it's the same
Splenda.
thing as that.
I
I
went,
had no idea what that was. So,
yeah. And Erin's chiming in, our other colleague, she's saying it's not bad. It's basically, it's basically what's in, she said it's basically what's in Splenda. Is that, or was that what you said?
Elizabeth commented and said it's in Splenda.
Splenda, okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad at all. I would just say it's just a form of sweetener, and every different kind of sweetener has different aspects. I would say aspartame is probably one of the ones that a lot of people want to stay away from. There's some natural sweeteners like stevia and um, tru-
Truvia?
Trulivia. I think so.
Truvia?
I
That
think
sounds right.
so. It's Truliva or something like that.
Yeah.
Those are made from natural plants. All of those are good. I'd probably say out of all the sweeteners that the Splenda or the sucralose is probably like one of my favorites, besides the stevia. Stevia, if you've never tried it before, definitely um, try a package and see if you like it. It's to me it tastes, it has a different, it's a little bit more lighter and flakier, and you use it the same way you would use sugar. So you can use it in baking recipes too.
Oh, Sarah
Um,
said there's brown sugar Truvia.
Ooh, I never heard of
That's
that
pretty
before.
good.
That sounds really
Yeah.
good. Okay, I'm going to look at our time because I want to see where we're at here.
We're at 5:38.
5:38. Okay. Okay, so kind of move on here. Okay. So next we're going to talk about examples of aligned actions. In this slide we're going to talk fairly quickly because we got three big things that I want to talk about after that, which I'm excited about. So examples of aligned actions, and what I mean by aligned actions, it's about basically letting go of resistance. Resistance is what keeps our bodies from us losing, a lot of times from losing weight, or to go meet a goal that we want to meet. So here, just everybody kind of take a deep breath, because that's one way to release resistance. It's just basically, you know, it's about, to me, it's about focusing on the end result instead of focusing on the pain. And your body will go where your focus is. It's about thinking, changing your perception so that you know things are possible. And in order to, by that, what I mean is kind of losing the victim or oppressed mindset. Sometimes we have barriers of disappointment or unworthiness or shame, and it's about breaking through those boundaries. So it's not just about the physical part, it's about breaking through so that we know more of who we are, really, truly, at a truth level, like really, truly who we are. And breaking down the resistance, I talked about that, allowing your body to naturally allow things to happen. Um, Start recognizing results, even very tiny ones. So by that, basically switching your focus kind of from that victimhood to being successful. So start recognizing the accomplishments. This leads you to better overall decisions going forward. So even if you're just first starting weight loss surgery, like let's say you haven't even had surgery yet, you know you're making choices that are getting you to where you want to be. If surgery is one of those choices, basically. I'm not saying surgery is a choice for everybody, but for those who've made that choice, that's aligning with something that led you there, basically. So after surgery, it's doing the same thing. You align with choices that lead you to continue that journey and the ones that you feel good about. Because when you ask a question, automatically that answer, you start attracting that answer. So it's about It's about understanding that the answers are always coming. It's about trusting the guidance as it comes and just really listening to it. So when you're focused on your results, trying to think of the best way to say this. So basically, when your focus, your attention and your focus are important things, because when you're saying, your understanding with yourself and your compassion with yourself, that you've gone so far and that you are making changes, it's the best way that you can be aligned. And then not getting triggered when you experience things that you don't want. So in other words, just continue to be persistent, and what I like to call purposeful, passionate peace. And by being purposeful and intentional, it's like creating a life you want without other things getting you off balance. So we'll talk about this more. We have an emotional change exercise coming up, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Is there any questions before I kind of jump into all this really juicy stuff here?
I don't see any new ones, but I will definitely be on the lookout.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions at all.
I'm going to come back full screen because I'm going to be changing. Okay. Hi, everybody. Back. Next, we're going to do something called an empowerment plan. So you do not have to do this while we're on the call, because I feel like this is going to take a little bit of time. And initially, it was designed to do during the meeting, but I feel like it'd probably take you. And Erin's posting. Thank you, Erin. She's posting a link to our handouts. One of those is going to be the empowerment plan, which we're going to pull up here in just a second, and we're going to individualize that. So we're going to go through it fairly quickly, but it's going to be, to me, it's a life changer for people. So whenever I do, on the side, I've done like one-on-one coaching, and to me, the empowerment plan is probably one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself to help you get out if you feel like you're kind of gotten in a rut, or you feel like you're kind of like at a stasis, you haven't moved, and you're wanting to figure out what your next steps are. So I'm going to share my screen again. So you're going to see us go small once again. Okay. Guys see it?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, great. So empowerment plan is basically the best thing to do when you're making an empowerment plan is use what we call SMART goals. And there's very specific definitions that I'm gonna share with you. There's like a bunch of information I have here, but we're just gonna go over the brief, this part right here, which is just basically what SMART stands for. And then on your own later, after this program, if you want to look at what SMART goals, how those work. If you work in a hospital or around any kind of facilities, growth facilities, a lot of times they'll have these SMART goals posted all over the place. But basically, SMART goals are basically specific. The S stands for specific, which is well-defined, clear, and not unambiguous. Measurable, which means you have specific criteria that measures your progress towards the accomplishment of a goal. They're achievable, which means they're attainable and not impossible to achieve. They're realistic, within reach, realistic, and relevant to your life purpose, and timely, with a clearly defined timeline, including a starting date and target date. And it's about creating an urgency. So again, later when you access this, you'll have more information about each of those sections so that you can read on. But we're going to kind of skip down just because of time. I'm trying to be really good with you guys' time. And we're going to look at an example of a SMART plan. This is one that I made kind of like for myself, just to kind of look at and kind of focus on, and I wanted to make it relatable. Now, the very first thing you're going to want to do, I'm going to go back up just a tiny bit. There's a couple steps. First, by starting 1 to 2 overall results that you would like to see. That's going to be in the middle column. Show you where that is. So for me, I wrote here, lose 30 pounds, implement into SMART goal of Lose 30 pounds over 30 weeks, 1 pound average per week. So you can get as specific as how fast you want to lose it, over what amount of time, that type of thing. And it doesn't have to be weight loss, it can be anything, but that's what I used here because that's kind of what we're talking about. You know, if it was, let's say it was on your home life, you could do it on building a new home and how the steps that you want to take on doing that. Or maybe it's starting a new relationship. You can use the same outline for that. So you could use it for any area of your life. But for this, we're going to talk about weight loss. And then up here, we're going to go back. Next overall purpose, your why. And get as descriptive as you can. To me, the biggest components of helping you get to where you want to be is going to be having a strong desire, and that desire is pulled from somewhere. And so here is what will propel you on those hardest days. So maybe it's a higher level of freedom and energy, 9 or 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, or maybe a high level of confidence, or it could be feeling empowered. And I'm doing these on high level scales, and physical health. So for each of you, this is going to be individual, but these were some that I came up with that might be examples. And then the very next thing, I'm going to go back up here, is going to be number 3. What are tangible first steps that you can do right now? And list those. So over here, basically it's about just taking little tiny baby steps at first. This is going to be a starting plan. So you're going to want to design it for day 1 or where you are right now. And then week by week, you add to your empowerment scale to, sorry about my little notifications thing there. Gonna want to add to your empowerment scale so that you can continuously go where you're guided to go, as opposed to being in resistance and like pushing against anything. So maybe it's just start researching effective ways to healthy eat that'll work for your lifestyle. So like I said, looking at menus of, you know, high protein foods. It could be doing that and making a list of those so that when you go grocery shopping, you'll have those. It could be start tracking your foods. We talked about the app like Verytastic, because that'll make you more mindful and make you know how you're right now currently eating, what kind of things you're eating, what kind of things you're drinking, what your activities like. It just makes you more mindful. So even before you start, you wouldn't even have to be trying. You could just be tracking your foods. It could be becoming aware of why you're eating a food, fuel versus an emotional or mental trigger. So start recognizing that, and you could start doing that even immediately. Could be making an appointment with a dietitian. And
Hey,
you could
Brenda, we do have another question. I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
no, wonderful.
It says, how many calories should you be having to continue with weight loss?
Oh, that's a great question. So that's very individualized. The short answer to that is what I would do is track your food on an app like Verytastic or something like that, and then use that as the calculator to losing weight. So if you're wanting to, say you tracked it and you were at 2,000 calories, decreasing your calories by 200 or 300 possibly, or 500 might be helpful. So it's going to be individualized for each person. If you're wanting to know specific amounts, what I would recommend doing is talking to like a dietitian or someone like that that can do some calculations for you, and they can really help you. And it's going to depend on how far out you're from surgery. You know, those first few weeks after surgery, people only eat, 500 to 800 calories, and then that goes up to about the end of the year, maybe 1,200 to 1,500. I guess it depends on the person. It still can be a lot lower than that, or even just a little higher. And then more of a maintenance type of thing is what I'm wondering.
Sorry, that was me asking Erin a question.
um, I kind of got off track there for a second, but what I was going to say is basically it's individualized. If you're just wanting a starting point, track your food, see where you're at, and you could try decreasing by a couple hundred calories. I think it takes 3,600 calories to equal a pound. So like if you're decreasing that by a week, like 3,600 calories over a week, you could divide it up to decrease by that many calories a week if you're wanting to lose a pound a week or 2 pounds a week. But I hope that helps answer the question. Maybe see if that helps her, if she responds back.
I will. We don't have anything just yet, but I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay. Also, shopping and meal prepping, maybe ahead of time so that you have foods available. That was one here. Like I always think keeping foods in your environment, like at your house, so that you're eating healthier. You have things available in your. I'm looking at my desk here. In your desk, if you're at work, that type of thing, so that you have things to be able to go to. And then it could be that you're starting to walk 30 minutes a day, some type of physical activity. It doesn't mean you'd have to do walking. That was just an example, but anything that helps you feel better physically. And then it could be that you just start researching ways to tone your body if that's something that you're wanting. So basically, I think that's the last one, yeah. So this whole plan is individualized. Each person that's on this call, if they choose to do this exercise, would be individualized for them. You have to make it specific to you because that's what's important. It's about you making the changes and seeing that. So underneath there is a printout. You can put your own name. Whoops, I'm sorry. I kind of messed up there. Put your own name. Start here in the middle. Do your overall result first of what you want. Right here, your overall purpose of why you're doing it. And then little tiny steps to get you started.
Mm-hmm.
So that is it on our empowerment plan. I'll give a second while I'm changing screens for questions, see if there's any questions.
Well, and I feel like this could be so individualized that people might have similar overall results that they're working towards, but their little steps could be different too, because everybody's way of achieving things aren't going to be the same.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And that's why I think it has to be individualized. I think that's what's so important when you're talking. And when you come and talk to if any of you have programs that you work with, possibly, a lot of times that's what they'll do too. They're going to help you with starting those first initial steps of getting you wherever you need to be. And I would recommend that too as well. Any kind of support that you can get, knowing that you're not alone in that journey, is really helpful. Okay, I'm going to take a breather here. I'm going to check my notes where we're at.
Okay.
And we got about 7 minutes, and we got 2 more exercises. So we'll probably end up going just a little bit over. But the next thing, I'm going to go ahead and go back, and we're going to talk about kinesiology. So before I do this, I'm going to ask for a volunteer for an exercise. Is there anybody out there want to comment and volunteer? They have to have another person that's willing to come on screen with them, because we're going to do a 2-man exercise and a 1-man exercise. It won't be hard, I promise. Anybody want to volunteer to come on screen with us, with me and Brittany?
I don't think we have anybody yet.
Okay, I'm going to give her a minute. Oh, I'm the woman for the show, Sarah. Okay, Sarah, I'm going to
one-woman show,
see.
she says.
That's okay. I'm going to bring her on screen. Sorry, Sarah, it's taking me a second.
It's almost like we're in person.
I know. I'm looking for you, Sarah.
And, Erin also had something to add to. She said, it's just back to that, how many calories should I be eating a day? Erin said that, there's not really a great answer across the board. It's kind of similar to what you said. It's all about, individual people. And she, someone who has like a really physical labor job that works 40 plus hours a week, they're obviously going to need more calories because they're burning more. Whereas I work from home and I work in this office, so I'm not, I'm not a roofer or a car mechanic or, someone who's doing physical labor. So I probably won't need as many calories as that person would.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if Sarah's registered under user 61441E. Sarah, is that possible? I'm going to try to, I'm going to invite this user on screen and see if that's her. Because when I pull up Sarah, it's not showing me Sarah.
It says Sarah Baker. It's Sarah. I don't know if that helps. I don't know. How would I find out? She says, I don't know how would I find
Oh,
out. Did
let
you
me
see
invite her
that?
on. I found her. Okay. Try again.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting, Erin had
We'll
more
just
to add too. She said, also, if you're working out and you're strength training and, versus doing cardio activities, lots of different factors can contribute to how many calories you should be having. So, um, mostly if you track them and if you're gaining, then that means that you need to cut back on your calories. If you're plateauing, you might try more calories for a week or two and see if that helps, and then do the opposite, and that might help with your plateau.
that's good insight. I've invited Sarah, but I don't know if she's seeing. She's not
Yeah.
seeing the invite. Ah, let me
At
try.
first when we did this, I didn't see mine either, so I don't really know.
Try it one more time. um, Error loading participants is what it's saying on my side. Shucks. Doggone it, Sarah. I'm not sure what's going on with that. We're going to maybe try here in a little bit again. We'll see if anybody else wants to try, we can have up to 4 or 5 people on screen. So if anybody else wants to try, I know, Sarah. We'll kind of try again here in a moment, though. If anybody else is interested too, we can try them as well. So,
Oh no. Um, that's all right. She'll be right back. I'm sure that it just disconnected on accident. Um, yeah, that's probably what happened. Dancing is cardio exercise disguised as a recreational activity. It's a fun way to raise your heart rate and burn calories. I agree. I love dancing. I'm probably not a very good dancer, but I do love to dance. um, Another thing too, I don't know, does anybody do yoga in this group? Um, there recently was just a post that we put on Instagram for yoga poses that are supposed to be a little bit more easier for people who, I believe it was for people who had surgery.